Why are revocable or living trusts so useful for estate planning? Well, here to talk with me about that is Harry Margolis, author of Get Your Ducks in a Row. Harry, welcome.
Good to see you again, Bob.
Likewise. So lots of people might be familiar with the term living trust, maybe less so with revocable trust, but they have a role and a use and a value for estate planning. Is that right?
That's right. And they're the same thing. Revocable trust and living trust are two names for the same entity. And as you know, a trust is a legal entity and a financial entity where one or more people, the trustees, manage funds for one or more beneficiaries. So it's a way to kind of hand that over to somebody else, though often in revocable trusts, the beneficiary and the trustee are the same person. And sort of the third player in all this is the grantor, the person who creates the trust. And with a revocable trust, you create it by signing a document and titling an account in the name of the trust. And if you're the grantor and the trustee, you still control it the same way you would your own bank account or investment account. But it's set up for you're able to say in it what will happen if you become incapacitated or after you pass away. And so one of the main things it does is avoids probate. So it makes it a lot easier when you pass away for whatever you have in terms of savings and investments or real estate. You can put a real estate into it as well through a deed, will pass to your heirs without going through probate. So that's kind of the main way the trust works and kind of the main benefit people think of. But I think of it as actually much more useful for incapacity planning. I mean, most of us can manage our own assets more or less competently while we are competent and have capacity. But when we get older, cognitive decline is not inevitable, but it's pretty often. It happens pretty often. And at some point, we may not be able to manage our own assets, or we may be subject to predators because, scammers are always going after older people because they might not be quite as aware of what's going on out in the world or as aware of new technical changes and just be more subject to scams. And also, of course, they might have accumulated money. So it's like with banks, the rob, because that's where the money is. Well, older people are targets because they have some money. And these trusts can help a lot with with these kinds of situations. So powers of attorney can too. So we recommend to all of our clients that they name someone they trust under a power of attorney to step in case they become incapacitated. But there are a few problems or drawbacks with powers of attorney. First, a lot of banks and financial institutions are resistant to accepting them. Often when people step in, it's when there is a problem already. And I suppose those are the main problems. So that they're not always accepted. For some reason, financial institutions and banks seem more receptive with trusts. So with a trust, you can name a successor trustee who will step in, or what I really like is name a co-trustee. Mm-hmm. So if you're a trustee of your trust, but you're getting older and you name your son or daughter as co-trustee, then they're already on the accounts. So if they see that you're losing capacity or that you become a target of scams, they can step in immediately. And I guess that's what I was going to say about the problem with powers of attorney, is once you want to use it and implement it, at that point, your agent has to go get their name on the account. And that can take some time. It can take driving around to different financial institutions. All the while, no one has access to your funds or somebody is continuing to deplete your account. Well, if you have a co-trustee on a revocable trust, they're already on the account.
Yeah.
And they can step in seamlessly. And also, since they're already on the account, they can be watching what's going on and see if money's going out that shouldn't be going out. So I think they're really good tools to protect against the vagaries of incapacity, whether it's just not being able to manage funds or being a target of scams.
Yeah. So unlike a irrevocable trust, you can make changes to the revocable trust in terms of, I guess, who the beneficiaries might be, who the trustee might be, et cetera?
Yeah, exactly. So you can always make changes. You're still in control, and it's easier to manage because for an irrevocable trust, it has to get its own tax ID number and file a separate tax return, 1041 each year. For a revocable trust, you use your own social security number, and so you just include it in your tax return. So it doesn't add any more difficulty that way.
And then in terms of the assets that you might place there, your house, your investment accounts, your life insurance, et cetera, what?
You can put anything in it or name anything the beneficiary except for your retirement accounts. So retirement accounts have to stay in your name, and you don't want to try to put those into a revocable trust because that would entail liquidating them and then having to pay the taxes on them immediately. So for retirement accounts, you should just name beneficiaries as you normally would.
And then with respect to life insurance, sometimes people might be told to purchase an ILIT. Are there advantages or disadvantages to using a revocable trust with life insurance versus an ILIT?
So an ILIT is an irrevocable life insurance trust. And we used to use them a lot more than we do today because they were used for estate tax planning purposes. But today, with the threshold for estate taxes, the federal threshold at $15 million, there's very few people have to worry about estate taxes. Some states have lower thresholds, and so people may want to do ILITs in those states. But in our practice, we're really not doing them anymore.
Right. In Massachusetts, there is a lower threshold.
Right. It's $2 million. But husband and wife with some planning can protect $4 million. And again, the state tax rate, our state tax rate is much lower than the federal state tax rate. So whether it's worth the trouble of planning beyond the $4 million is a case-by-case determination.
Right. And then in order to set up a revocable trust, a living trust, going to an estate planning attorney would be the typical route.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of online services where you can do it too. And I think they probably have perfectly good forms. I think the problem with those is if you have questions or any unique situations, it may be hard to figure out what the right path forward is.
We covered a lot of ground. Anything we missed?
Nothing to think of right now, but we can always come back and talk again.
That works for me. Thanks as always, Harry, for sharing your knowledge and wisdom.
Okay. Thanks, Bob.